How was your workout?
It was okay. I went on a nice run, but the gym was disgustingly packed. So
How are you still in Providence?
3 more weeks.
What? I feel like you've been
Yeah.
there for so long.
Yeah, I had a 13-month lease, so this is my 13th month.
13 months? That's a weird
Yeah.
time frame.
Yeah, it was 12 plus one free one.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Actually, not that weird then.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm moving in. I move out the 31st, move in the first.
Oh, not bad at all.
No,
Are you
not at
excited to
all.
be a Boston boy again?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for there to be like people in the vicinity.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to live in a place where my car doesn't usually get broken into. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it normally only takes one time for you to be cause for concern about that. And I just remember when I was coming down to visit you one night and I drove as opposed to taking the train. And you're like, yeah, you can just park on my street. And I look at your street and there's just broken glass all along the street. I'm like, are you sure I can park here? And you're like, yeah, no, I wouldn't park down towards the end. Like I would park at the fire hydrant. And I was like, you want me to park at the fire hydrant? And you're like, yeah, it's probably safer to park there than it is to park down the street. I was like, oh, perfect, good.
I haven't paid for parking since the first month I was here. And I've parked on the street on my block ever since my car got broken into. And yeah, like they don't ticket right here. They do break windows down a block. So
Yeah. Which
yeah.
is not an ideal scenario, but hey, at least keeps people away from the area so that like, oh, I'm not going to park on this street because people will probably get broken into. And so I don't
You'd
know.
think. You'd think. I mean, yeah, we just kind of you can tell our building has like figured out how to park. So they all
Yeah.
take like the illegal spots on the ends too and just like tighten up a little bit so everyone fits.
Yeah. I mean, parking in front of a fire hydrant, can't say that that's very legal, but I did it.
Yeah. I might be parked there right now, actually. Oh no, I'm not. No, that was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so few spots, but yeah. Yeah. So a city boy.
Soon, well, kind of right now. Technically, I'm downtown, but like soon to be an actual city boy.
I'm excited. Everyone, I would like to welcome on Leon Friedrich. He is one of my good friends from engineering at Miami, and he is a New England boy trying to move, or not trying to, is moving from Providence, Rhode Island to Boston, Massachusetts, and is also a Russian spy.
Yep, that does tend to be a common theme amongst jokes around me. But yeah, it's
It's
pretty
good. It's
accurate.
good.
That was good. Uh,
Welcome to AA. It's very exciting to have you here.
Glad to be in this AA and not the other one. So
Right? I know it's not a bad place to be, honestly.
definitely not.
And it to me means that you at least have something figured out in your life that I'm willing to interview you
I
about.
like to think I'm an aspiring adult.
Oh,
So I do like to think I'm an aspiring adult. So
don't we all? Yeah, I'm really aspiring nowadays lately. But yeah, so at the topic at hand, so we're going to talk about looking for a job while you have a job.
yes, painful and
And
awkward.
it's painfully awkward.
Yep.
And so first, let's start with what your former role was and then what your current role is.
Yes. So I graduated as a mechanical engineer and I got a job as a mechanical engineer. Well, actually, it was a little more complicated. I had been working an internship for a really long time and they had I'd worked for them on a contract for like 2 weeks after I graduated. And there was like a whole offer situation of like, someone gives you an offer, we'll match it. But I ended up saying that, no, I'm all set with my internship. I've done what I wanted to do here. So that was my first initial awkward declining of
I didn't know that.
yeah. So I went down to Connecticut. I got a job at a plastic extruder company as a mechanical engineer. So we made the machines that made plastic. We didn't make plastic. So when you have like Kroger or Market Basket or someone, wants to make 1 million plastic bags, they order a machine from us. Basically, that job was very slow. Really, I sat at my desk and did CAD, like 3D modeling for 8 hours a day, nothing else, did not get up from my computer, and it just wasn't quite it for me. So I switched over to another mechanical engineering position, also just a straight mechanical engineer at now Shark Ninja, where I work on the shark side, so working on vacuums.
So was there ever a breaking point where you're like, I genuinely can't sit at this computer in CAD one day longer? Or was it kind of like a slow burn where you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna look, and if something comes up, like that's great, but if not, oh well. Or what was that situation?
It was a slow burn.
Yeah.
I had done a couple of projects there. They were all mini projects. And it was just the pace of the place was, it was like a 1950s manufacturing facility. They were so established in their business that it was something like, if you've ordered food in the past 3, 4 years, there's about a 99% chance that the plastic container your food came from one of our machines.
Oh wow.
So they were like very established. They had order. So an order probably takes, depending on how big the order is, like the machine can be from the size of a desktop size to literally a full warehouse length. But
Hmm.
they were booked out for literally the next year and a half on
Wow.
orders. Yeah. But the orders take, some of them take 6 months just to make,
Right.
design, create, manufacture, build the
Hmm.
whole thing. And it was getting to the point where my team wasn't actually doing orders. My team was making all the puzzle pieces in a way to the
Right.
rest of the devices. And this was such a known science and so well established that everything that I was doing was so minuscule. And it was
Hmm.
minuscule to the point of I'd have to go through like 300 models and put in like 3 new screw holes and take out two.
Hmm.
And I was sitting here and I was like, okay, so this is just a really, really big CAD tutorial. I was just learning how to use 3D modeling for like
Hmm.
10 months.
Which is
And
like a great learning experience, but ultimately not what you envision yourself doing for the rest of your career.
exactly, exactly. And I was sitting here and I was like, okay, so I'm sitting here 8 hours a day putting holes into 3D models. And it was kind of getting ridiculous. I worked on a couple different projects. I finished like 3 in 3 weeks. And the
Wow.
only reason they were smaller projects that were supposed to go into like devices that were on used on manufacturing floor. But
Hmm.
basically, the only reason they weren't implemented while I was there never got to checking them. And
Mm.
I had always kind of thought that I was not going to end up in Providence forever. So I started looking earlier than I expected to move up to Boston.
Hmm.
And I had a job hit through my friend referring me, and it kind of worked out. And so now, yeah, so now I'm up
Yeah,
in
so
the south.
that was kind of my follow-up because obviously I left my job for a different reason, which I'll go into after we talk about how you found your new job. And so obviously you just said that you connected with one of your friends to get you in network with the people that were at Shark Ninja. So obviously that's different than when you initially started applying out of college. So how did the two application processes differ when you first graduated or were looking to graduate from Miami and then with essentially 1 year of experience?
So both were kind of similar.
Okay.
I was cold applying to everything. Um, LinkedIn Quick Apply, honestly, I don't believe that it's probably the best way to do it just because you can't quite do as much of yourself in it.
Hmm.
But anything that had a quick apply, I would just go through any mechanical engineering position in the area where I wanted to be at, just go all the way through. And then I'd start looking. I'd sift more through jobs that required specific applications. Same thing in
Hmm.
college. So like if I found a job that I was like, oh, this is a cool position, this is a cool company, they do a cool thing, I'm really interested.
Hmm.
I would go through the effort of like really writing a nice cover letter and this and that, and really, trying to make myself stand out on a cold apply. But
Hmm.
I got that position through actually a referral as well down in Connecticut. Just through a family friend. She was like, hey, on a whim, I have a friend who's an engineer down here. They may need someone. Do you want to check it out? Went through the interview process. It wasn't like they just took me, but I went through the interview process and it worked out. But applying to Shark Ninja was, you had to tiptoe a lot more because I was
Hmm.
at school when I was applying then. So if I needed to take an interview, I could just take an interview. It didn't
Right.
matter. But interviews are during work time.
Right. Because it's like
And
that's individual. Like the recruiting manager, they work 9 to 5, just like you work 9 to 5. So your window to interview is 9 to 5.
yep. So I had a moment where basically there was like a week where 3 or 4 different companies reached out to me. I like all were like, hey, we want to interview. And it kind of worked out really well where I had a friend visiting for a long weekend. So I had taken a day or two off.
Hmm.
And I just told him, hey, one morning I just got to go through 3 interviews and then I'm good. And they were all recruit through HR. So they weren't, your technical or anything too
Hmm.
hard, just half an hour. Um, So that's how I handled those. But I remember I was talking to my mom and I was telling her, I was like, how am I going to get around this? I have interviews in the middle of the day. I work 45 minutes from home. I can't take
Hmm.
an interview in the office. Like it's no
Right.
possible. And she told me this, and I kind of thought she was crazy, but I was like, there's nothing else I can do. She was like, just take your interview, go park in a parking lot somewhere around the corner and take an interview. And I was like, are you serious? She goes, sweetheart, I did the exact same thing for the position I'm at right now. They don't think it's weird. And I kid you not, the first interview I take in the car, I'm like downloading Teams because something was going wrong. I didn't have space on my phone.
Yeah.
The link didn't work. I'm sitting there in the car, like downloading.
Hmm.
I open it up and I'm in my car. And the guy goes, oh, you're in your car. And I'm thinking to myself, I blew it. I'm done.
Yep.
And he goes, oh no, I remember when I had to do that too. So do not be afraid to go take an interview in your car because everyone's been there. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, everyone knows it's awkward.
Yeah. It is really awkward. And I remember my interview process was a lot more recent than yours, obviously. When I was doing my first interview with the company that I'm going to work for now, they
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you. I'm very excited about it. So my first interview was like a 30-minute basically walkthrough of what to expect or what the role really entails and if I was actually interested in it. Because the way that it happened with me was it's kind of a crazy story how I even know about this job and about the position. So I did a venture capital competition club team in college,
Yeah,
and
you
one of
won. You won by
yeah, we
accident.
did. We won. Not the global competition, only the national competition. But anyways, so we did win. But there were 3 companies that showed us their pitch decks, and we had to do diligence on. And one of the companies was the company that I'm currently going to work for. So I was really fascinated by it because it was a manufacturing-esque company. It was a software as a service company. And so obviously being a mechanical engineer in kind of a business dominated club, everyone was like, oh, Sarah, you'll do the diligence on this one because you'll probably understand it the best, blah, blah, blah. So I did the diligence on it. I was like, this is a great company. Wow, I think that we should choose to invest in this one with our like fake money or whatever. And so all of my teammates agreed, and I ended up connecting with the CEO on LinkedIn, and I've been following their story and stuff. And since transitioning from my role in mechanical engineering to being a customer success manager, I've kind of like looking at different roles, and they were not only just hiring, they were hiring customer success managers. So I reached out to the CEO, heard back from him in like 10 minutes on LinkedIn. And so then he got me in network with the hiring manager or not the hiring manager, the hiring manager, I guess, for the position. And he put me in contact with her. And then she was like, okay, I'd love to talk with you and understand your experience and let you know more about the role before you actually want to interview for it. So this was like even a precursor to all the interviews that I had to do. And so I was like, okay, I have to set aside 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, I feel guilty just going and like taking 30 minutes. So I went and I was like, I'm going to take a sick day. I have to go to a doctor's appointment. And so I just told my boss, I was like, I'm going to take a sick day and I have a doctor's appointment that's in Acton, whatever. And I need to take the afternoon. Yeah, home base. Yeah, exactly. And so I put my time off request in and he approved it, whatever. And then I was like, okay, well, that's one down. And I thought that there were probably only a few more. And so then after that, they're like, okay, we're going to schedule some more interviews with you during the week. And I was like, okay, perfect. Like, just let me know when they are and I'll be sure to accommodate. And so it was another 30-minute interview and then a 30-minute interview after that 30-minute interview. So an hour block. And I was like, okay, I don't want to take this in the office. And so luckily with the position that I'm currently in, it's pretty flexible as to whether or not you can work from home. And so I was in the office that morning and I told my boss, I was like, I have to go home because I have to meet an electrician. And he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so I go home and I like set a block on my calendar for 30 minutes. And I just take the interview during that 30 minutes. And then after that, my second interview got rescheduled for whatever reason. But the lucky thing for me is that the remainder of my interviews were on Friday afternoons. And with my schedule, we do summer hours on Fridays.
When do you get out?
Yeah, I get out at noon, and all
Oh,
of my
we
the
get
rest
out
of
at
my
3.
yeah, we get out at noon, and I my interviews were at 2. And so it was really, really fortunate for me because my last 2 interviews that were the third one was an hour long. And then the third one, which was my final interview, was 3.5. So I was going in at 2 and then leaving at like 5.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy that it all worked out that way. And it was over the summer. So that I was able to just take that like summer hour break, and I wasn't having to take any time off or use any sick days really. I used one
Yeah,
sick day and then had like a 30-minute block that I blocked off my calendar. So it's not that bad.
I had to use vacation time because in that week where 3 different companies reached out to me at the same time, I was
Mhm.
running through 3 sets of interviews for like 2 or
Wow.
3 weeks. Yeah. So like 2 of them. So honestly, the Shark Ninja one was the easiest. I had
Mhm.
3 half-hour interviews and none of them were too. So I think it helped that I got referred from a
Yeah.
kid who went to the exact same engineering program as me, had been there for a year. He's already a senior engineer there, I think.
Wow.
So yeah, well, they used to have a really, really fast scaling. They got
Okay.
rid of it now, but you used to be able to like you could get promoted twice in a year before. Um,
Wow.
yeah, they got rid of it now, so it's
That's
unfortunate. But
unfortunate.
yeah, but basically, I had 3 interviews, and one of them. So my team and my current manager are all in London, so he's 5 hours ahead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there are 3
Wait,
people
this
on
kid
my
went to Miami?
no, 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 no.
Oh,
That kid's on Ninja, so he was just in the company, just referred me.
okay.
But my manager and the team that I ended up on is in London. So
Mm,
my first screening, so they didn't even do the HR one. It was just like the head manager, basically. He was a
yep.
VP. And he's in London. So for him, like I was like, okay, how about I just do this before I leave for work at like 6 a.m. Because
Mhm.
that way for him it's 11. For him it's
Yeah.
totally normal time. And I can do it before work and no one has to worry about it. No one finds out.
Mhm.
So I handled that in the morning, but then the other 2 interviews, there was kind of a mix up and one of them forgot and there was a whole thing. But
Mm,
the other 2 were each a half hour and that wasn't bad. But the other place that I entered at or interviewed at was it was like the third round. I had to make a 30-minute presentation with
mhm.
20 minutes of questions or like 30 minutes of questions. I had to go through 3 rounds in the office and I had to get like a tour of the building. So I
Wow.
just went, all right, I got to take a half day. Like I can't finesse this, you know?
Yeah.
So that I just took vacation time and it was really unfortunate. Well, it worked out great for me, but it was like the end of my vacation time that I had left
Yeah.
because I hadn't accrued enough. But it
Right.
was
So if it
definitely like,
didn't work out, you were kind of SOL.
yeah, yeah. I was really kind of worried about that. I was sitting there, I was like, dude, one of these has to work out because
Yeah.
running low. But it's very awkward. Like, especially
So
since
awkward.
the company I was at, it's like once you're in the building, you don't really leave, and you kind of don't really leave your desk because there's nowhere to
Mhm.
go.
Mhm.
So if you're not at your desk, people know you're not at your desk.
Mhm.
And it was really awkward. So when I was taking the interviews, like that were on the phone, and I would just drive the parking lot around the corner. I literally, I would be like, I'd look at this one guy and go, "Hey, I gotta step out for an hour. I'll be back in a bit." And no one ever asks because
Right.
you don't ask those questions because if I was gonna
You
tell
don't
you,
know what's actually going on. Yeah.
yeah, for who knows? Maybe I have a personal doctor call or something, you
Yeah.
know? So it's definitely awkward, but I don't think it's bad at all on you to
Mhm.
take like an hour and be like, just come up to someone who you work close with. So someone asks, be like, hey, I had to step out for an hour. I have to run an errand. Because
Mhm.
we're grown-ups now. People understand there's things going on.
Yep.
And like that's okay. But yeah, when you start pushing the half day of like a 3-hour interview,
Mhm.
you have to take the time off.
Yeah.
And it's always short notice too. They always want you to do it the next day. And you're like, I can't. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's so hard. And it's like I'm really gambling a lot that you're going to offer me this job after this 3-hour interview. And if you don't, then I'm kind of in bad, like, not bad terms, but like, it doesn't look great that to my company that I just randomly took off a vacation day after not putting it on the schedule and like not letting anyone know, you know?
right, last minute, hey boss, I gotta take half of tomorrow off. And then what happened?
I have to not only do I have to take half of tomorrow off, I also have to take half of Friday off, and then the following Tuesday, I have to take half of that off.
I just love like I genuinely I think people, if you present yourself correctly at work, which I hope we all are, they'll never know. They'll
Mhm.
never guess that you're interviewing. They're just gonna be like, oh, like, well, Sarah's a good worker. She knows what she's doing. She's been here the whole time. I have no problems with her. She has reasons, you know? And that's kind of the same
Yeah.
thing, you know?
He probably had an idea because I was unhappy being there. And then the
Mhm.
only time I was talking to him was telling him that I wasn't going to be around. So in that situation, I can't help but feel like he had to have known. But at the same time, it's like, what's he going to do? You know, like
Right.
I'm still
Yeah.
doing all my work.
You're doing your work. You're entitled to your vacation time. And what's he gonna do? Show me a doctor's note? Sorry, this
Yeah.
isn't high school gym. Like, we
Yeah.
don't need that. But what's funny, just kind of a side note, since my manager's in London, he's very hands off and he's like pretty high up. He's like a VP. He doesn't
Hmm.
really, he's very hands off as well. And if you look through my team's messages with him, all of them, literally all of them, are me going, "Hey, can I take this day off?" And he goes, "No problem." And then it's back to back to back like 4 or 5 times. That's it. So like,
Mm,
whenever we talk, like it's usually just a call because we're not going to be able to discuss everything over Teams.
right.
But it's hilarious if you look through our team's history. It's just, "Hey, David, I hope you're having a great day. Like, can I take this coming Friday off? I got this, that, and that." And he goes, "No problem." Like, and
Love,
that's the entire
love.
interaction.
That's amazing.
But yeah, your situation's a little different.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like at that point, if your boss doesn't like you and isn't treating you well and you don't feel comfortable, then like there, your company at the end of the day, this was something that I was told at my internship by this guy, that the internship that I ended up leaving. He told me, he was like, at the end of the day, man, like your company's not loyal to you, you know? Um,
No.
your company, the finance team is looking at you like as a money. You're a number.
Hmm.
You're just a value. Like, and if why be loyal to your
Yeah.
company at that point? And if they're not treating you well, if you're not happy with it, if you're not happy with your situation, like this is 40, 50, 60 hours of your week every single week. Like,
It is. And the problem is when I always talked to my dad and I would complain to him about what was going on in the office and like how I felt uncomfortable and super anxious to show up to work every day. And he was like, Sarah, as soon as you're taking this home, you're taking anxious feelings home. That's when there's an issue and that's when you need to leave. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm like natural problem solver. So I tried to solve the problem while I was there. And I was like,
mm,
okay, I'm going to talk to HR and I'm going to talk to the CEO and I'm going to get this resolved because I want to still work here and I want to still do my job and I want to still perform. And I did that and nothing happened. Like literally nothing happened.
that's
And
crazy that
it
HR
is
did
so
nothing.
nothing.
That's
And
not okay.
like I voiced all of the problems that I had and the resolution to the issues that I had addressed, one of them being that my boss would back me into a corner. I just like stopped kind of talking to him for a bit and he was like, what's wrong? It's something feels like there's wrong, like something wrong with you. And I was like, yeah, I'm not happy. And he was like, okay, well, tell me what's wrong. And I was like, I'd rather just talk to my mentor and then come back to you with like the issues after I've worked it out with my mentor. And he's like, if there's an issue, you should feel comfortable telling me what's going on. And I was like, no, I kind of just want to talk to my mentor. Like, this is my first corporate
That's the point of
job.
a mentor.
Yeah. And I was like, this
You're
is my
not
first
supposed to like,
corporate job. Nope.
you don't go to like your boss is not supposed to be your personal
Leon,
problem solver. That's why you
it gets
have a mentor.
worse. It gets worse. And so I was like, no, I kind of just want to talk to my mentor about this. He was like, well, if it's something about your job, we've already discussed that you're happy in your role. And I was like, no, it's not about my job. And he goes, okay, well then is it someone that you work with? And I was like, yeah, it's someone that I work with. And he goes, well, you should feel comfortable telling me. And I was like, I really want to talk to my mentor. And he goes, is it me? Is it a problem with me? And I was like, yeah, it is. He's like, you should feel comfortable enough to have a candid conversation with me. And I literally stopped right there and I was like, it feels like you're backing me into a corner to talk to you. And he immediately disposition changes and goes, oh my God, I'm your biggest advocate, like gaslighting me, absolutely gaslighting me. And I take this to HR and I'm like, I'm 23 years old. I'm 23 years old and trying to figure out how corporate America works. And he is gaslighting me and making me feel terrible and not wanting to show up to work. Like, I contemplating quitting my job cold turkey and not having a second job, not renewing my lease and going back to South Carolina. That's how bad it was. And I said that with HR and my CEO in the room, and nothing, Leon, was done. Then my breaking point was I go in for my year in review, go to HR, and I was like, look, I think my boss's intentions towards me are now affecting my pay. Like, he won't tell me my metrics of success and won't tell me the metrics that he's grading me on. He's telling me that I'm not exceeding expectations, but won't tell me the metrics that I am meeting. And they said, oh, okay. And I was like, I'm done. I am so done. I'm not staying here a moment longer. This is ridiculous. I could not. It's terrible. And then that brings me to the exit interview. So did you have to do an exit interview when you left your former role?
Supposedly, I didn't. They didn't, to be fair, and this isn't really to be fair. This is more of an explanation. Our HR, I think, in that company had fully flipped over within like the 3 months before I came in and like the 6th month I was there. And everyone that had been there prior, when I was there, and then at the end of when I was leaving, apparently it was established that none of them knew what they were doing. And so like there was like a lot of stuff with like the lady that had onboarded me had like, you know, you get like your benefits package. You're like, you have like a meeting, and they tell you everything, right? They have like a, you know, that's usually within your first like week or two because you got to sign up for insurances.
Right.
So like a month and a half in, they realized they never did that for me and this one other kid. I wasn't on health or like short or long term, like whatever it is, disability insurance for like the first month and a half, you know, like stuff like that, where the new HR lady came in and was like, what is going on
here?
What is going on?
And so it's not like you know any better. Like, this is your first job.
Yeah. And so the lady that stepped in was like the VP of HR, but I think there was only really like one person underneath her, at least in that office, because it was a big company worldwide. But like, but then the VP left on like my 6th month. She was like, I'm out. I got like a better position somewhere else. I'm out. So the new lady, don't remember anything about her, to be honest. But when I told her everything and like was emailing her and like told her my last day was, she mixed up when my last day was. She didn't know if I needed an exit interview. She like got some papers ready for me. Like it was, so no, I've never actually done an exit interview.
Well, then how did you put your 2 weeks notice in? Like, did you email it? What day of the week was it on? What time of the day was it?
Oh, it was a Tuesday.
Mine was a Tuesday too.
Dude, I literally like, so it was like this. It was basically, I got an offer on like Thursday.
I got an offer on Friday.
Nice. So I got an offer on like Thursday at the end of the work day. And I was like, okay, sweet. But I had the other place that I was interviewing at, I was super interested in. I don't think it's a secret that I interviewed. It was Mark Forged. It's like a 3D printing company.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing final rounds with them and I still had to do my final round. And they like the company, like Shark Ninja was like, hey, like, here's your offer. Like, let us know. Well, let us know after the weekend, like what you're thinking. And so during the weekend, I emailed like the lady. I'm like, hey, can I please extend this a little bit? Because I'm like trying to milk time so I can do my interview at the other place. So I milk it. Like I get like another week, basically. I do my interview. I tell the Mark Forge, I'm like, hey, I have an offer. So like, if you can't figure something out, like I'm going to go. And they ended up like another week later saying, no, we actually decided on someone else. But Friday, I email and accept my offer, but I'm still like waiting on Mark Forged. So I gave them until Monday. And I don't remember exactly if my manager wasn't in on Monday. There was something, I don't remember exactly, but I couldn't do it on Monday. But the funny thing is that my manager's manager, who like, it's much more important to him that I'm leaving because he's more like, he was the head of engineering. But my manager was just like, he was my manager just because he'd been there for 25 years. And like in our group, he was senior. So I went under him. And I walked into his office on Tuesday morning and I was like, hey, so like, I accepted an offer and I'm actually leaving. And he was like, oh, really? He was like,
you didn't like draft a letter or anything?
No, I'm just going to talk to the guy. So I think I might have printed something out. I don't remember 100%, but I like, I walked in and I talked to the guy and he was like, "Oh, like how long have you been here?" I was like, like going on 10th month, something like that. So my manager's manager was out for the week due
Hmm.
to he had some his wife was having some health issues, so he had to be out. And he so like the rest of the week it was kind of like awkward because like my manager's manager doesn't know who's like the more important guy, and
Hmm.
like my team now knows, and people are starting to find out this and that. And then so
Hmm.
when my manager's manager comes in next Monday, I saw that he was in, and I went straight to his office in the morning just to be like, hey, like, oh yeah, I brought my 2 weeks notice on Tuesday. I
Same.
figured I figured he'd be like, yeah, just like work till next Friday and then you're good. The man made me work till the end of Tuesday. The
Yep.
next I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like everyone around me was like, why are you here? I was like,
Yep.
I don't know. Because my manager decided that he didn't want, I don't know. And so I walked into the office of my manager's manager on the next Monday. And I was like, hey, Gary. And he was like, Leon, I heard you're leaving us. I was like, yup,
It's
it's
so
happening.
awkward.
Yeah, but he was honestly really chill about it. He was like, "What's going on, man? Like, you just showed up. Did you not like it here?" And I was like, "No, no. Like, the people were fine. The job was fine. Like this and that." I was like, I also, I can't. I don't know. I can't stand living in Providence. It's just not for me. It's too small, too quiet, too
Hmm.
sketchy. Not enough
Hmm.
going on. Just honestly was miserable for like the first while here. And I was like, "Yeah, honestly, I hate living in Providence." He literally just goes, "Oh yeah, Providence is a shithole." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, Gary. Glad that we're on the same page."
XOXO Gary.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, what are you like 27? Like you don't want to live there." I was like, "Dude, I'm 22." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, get out." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, cuz the job that I was at was very like everyone was kind of going there to like raise their kids, have a
Hmm.
family like
Hmm.
and yeah, so he was actually super understanding about it. And he was like, "Yeah, like I get it. Like you don't want to be here. You're 22. Like
Yeah.
go live your life." But they were definitely, it was definitely a little like I felt bad. I felt guilty. Um, I felt guilty more to the guy that referred me, to be honest.
Right.
He like whatever you're the bonus, like you get like part of it at the beginning and the rest of it 6 months in. So like he got his full bonus.
Hmm.
It's just it it makes you feel weird when like someone referred you, people were counting on it, and then you like leave, and they're like, you know, you just, the guy probably feels like he screwed people over,
Right.
but at
Well,
the
I
same
also
time,
feel like you're your own biggest critic, and I feel like he probably does not feel that way at all because at the end of the day, like you said, business is business, and HR and the company looks at you like a dollar sign.
yep,
So you leaving, and I'm ultimately, yeah, it sucks to onboard someone new, but to onboard somebody new that wants to live in Providence or is from Providence and wants to stay in Providence, like you're gonna have a much higher retention rate.
yeah, no, literally, and like they were, it, so he had actually also referred like two or three other people there, so
Hmm.
like he missed on one, it's not
Yeah,
that bad, right? He was basically just creating like his own little like clan of like
must be
just
nice.
yeah, I mean, he was a really good guy, really smart guy. But it was funny because like when they found out where I was leaving, they like a couple of them like knew some stuff about Shark Ninja, and they started like the next couple of days. They're like, "Oh, did you hear this? I was on Glassdoor," and I was sitting there. I was like, What do you want me
So
to do?" Like,
you told them where you were going?
well, they asked, "What was I going to tell
Yeah,
them?"
I know that. So my boss asked me because when I handed in, I did it very differently than you did. I Googled how to write a letter of resignation on
Mm,
Google, and I literally went through like three templates, and I was like, I don't really want to say any of this, so I just edited it down to basically like, this is my last day. Thanks for the opportunity. Bye.
yeah,
And I walked into his office, and I was like, this is my formal statement to let you know that this is my 2 weeks notice. But anyway, so I go in, give my 2 weeks notice. And he's like, where are you going? Do you have another job? And I was like, yeah, I have another opportunity. And he's like, oh, where is it? And I was like, it's in Boston. And he was like, oh, what's the name of the company? And I was like, oh, it's a small company. He goes, what's the name of the company? And I was like, oh, and he goes, starts typing on his computer. I'm just going to see if I know anyone working there. And I'm like,
no, don't do that. Don't do it.
But he was like, oh yeah, there's a few grads that went to my college that work there. And I was like, cool.
Sick. That's
And it was
awesome.
just like so uncomfortable. And I like
Yeah, like
didn't want to
that's
tell him, but I like felt backed into a corner about telling him.
that's what I was running into. Where like the next couple of days, like the next week, it was like two or three times it got brought up. Where like one of the guys was like, oh yeah, like one of my uncles used to work there. I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, like long hours, got to stay up late talking to China. You're gonna get burnt out, blah blah. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like decline the offer and stay here?
Yeah.
Like I like, and then this other guy was basically like, yeah, have you checked the Glassdoor reviews? I was like, no, I haven't checked the Glassdoor reviews because the only people that post on Glassdoor are either super happy or hate the job, and most of
Yeah.
them hate the job. So like,
Yeah.
all I'm gonna find is negative shit.
Right.
So I
Like,
was like,
when are you ever in a good mood and think, you know what? I'm going to take this positive energy? Glassdoor,
Glassdoor, yeah.
Yelp, rate your professor. Like, you're never going to go anywhere and give anyone a raging review of how much you love something, because the majority of the time you just tell other people that you're
Right.
connected with. You don't tell strangers.
But like, could you imagine like maybe he was a little offended. I don't know exactly, but like, how do you look at a kid and be like, oh, you're about to go to this company just so you know it sucks?
Yeah.
Like what
That's like, what do you
like be
what do you
gone.
want?
Yeah,
What do you
so
want? What's there to gain from you
it's
telling
kind of
me?
it's kind of interesting. So one of the things with my internship, I like loved everyone there. Everyone there is
Mhm.
awesome. Still do. They're great people. I had one of my greatest mentor there. Absolutely, like this guy, Josh Griffiths, got to put the name out there. The man is a genius, awesome guy. Brought me through so much and like just taught me so much. And like I learned a ridiculous amount from them and I owe them a ton. But when I left, the team that I was on, they were R&D, probably like 20, 25 people, and they were all like a family. They had been
Mhm.
together for so long. They'd all been there, 8 to 15 years, if not more. They'd all like, they hung out together, they did cookouts together, their families knew each other, this and
Mhm.
that. And I'm obviously like, there was a couple guys who were pretty young, but I'm like significantly younger than almost everyone in that group.
Mhm.
And me leaving to them felt offensive. They were like, you're leaving our
Yeah.
family. And that's something that I now have learned that like I need to make sure to keep that separate because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it was a business decision for me to leave. I had
Right.
nothing against the people there, but
Mhm.
it just wasn't for me. And I felt as though they were like offended and don't particularly want to interact with me because I
Right.
left the family.
Right.
And I think that is something that's really important for people. Where as much as your work, it's awesome if they're your friends, and like that's only for the better. You have to make sure to separate like your personal feelings towards someone and work. Like
Yeah.
if your manager hates you, it doesn't matter if your manager hates you as long as you work, as long as you
Yeah.
guys don't take it out on each other, as long as you guys just like are civil.
Yep.
Like people don't get
Like,
along. It's part of the
and
world,
that's like, I've never like worked in a professional setting really outside of softball, which I did my entire life. I worked for so many coaches, and I'm going to say work because I showed up to practice, I brought equipment, like I was responsible for doing X, Y, and Z. I was a team captain. Like I was responsible and I reported ultimately to my coaches. Did I love every single one of my coaches? No, absolutely not. Did I respect every single one of my coaches? No, but I still performed for them because that's what it was expected of me and expected of me from my teammates. And if
they
I'm
hired you.
letting
You're
it's,
doing a job.
yeah, I'm doing a job that everyone else is reliant on me on. It's not just about my boss. I can do work for someone I don't like and I don't respect. Like it's not two separate things, but there like comes a boundary with that you have to kind of make for yourself of like, okay, if your boss doesn't respect you and nobody else at the company is willing to stick up for you, that's probably when you should decide to leave.
Yeah, small tangent, but like my favorite thing after college is that when I leave work, I'm done with work.
Yes.
I that is my favorite thing. Like, oh, to be fair, like recently, we have a China team, so like the more I get involved, the more I get China messages like later in the
Mm-hmm.
night. But at
Yep.
the same time, like I'm not thinking about work. I've left work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm leaving work and I'm still thinking about how my manager hates me, how these people this, how
Mm-hmm.
this and that, it's like bad, 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 bad.
Yeah.
Like that is a line that is not good. Like you
Yep.
should you should be able to leave in peace,
Yep.
regardless of if you're stressed. If you're at work and you're stressed for 8 hours, but then you leave and you're good, that doesn't matter. You were at work.
Yep.
You were doing your job. You're being paid. The way you're putting food on your table is being
Mm-hmm.
stressed a little bit during the day. But if you're leaving and you're still like your heart's racing and stuff, like no, you should
Yeah.
not be bringing home anxiety. You should not be walking in with anxiety. You should not be stressed. You should not be like dreading to go to work. I mean, like, whatever, it's work. You kind of dread it sometimes. But
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's not like you love going to the office every morning, but like to be dreading going in to have an interaction with a specific individual.
who's
Yeah.
directly your manager, who you have to interact with, like
And
you
it's
can't
not
go
someone
wrong.
that you can avoid. Yeah.
Right.
That's definitely one of the telltale signs that you need to get out of there, which
Yeah.
sucks because I love my coworkers and I liked the company and it was fun to work there, but whew, yeah, I also put my 2 weeks on a Tuesday, got my offer on a Friday, and I literally said very candidly, they offered me on the spot, and I was like, I've never put my 2 weeks in. I don't know what the standard procedure is for that, and I don't know what I should do. And she's like, okay, well, wait until you get something in writing from us. And
Yep.
then once you get something in writing, then you can feel confident to submit your letter of resignation. And I was like, okay, perfect. Like I can totally do that. So I waited. My boss was out of office on Monday.
That's what it was. I was waiting for the in writing. I'd gotten
Yep.
the verbal on like a Thursday, or I got the in writing on like Monday afternoon. So I brought in the 2 weeks on Tuesday morning.
Yeah,
That's
because
what
it's like it was also I've heard of people doing it over email, and it was like I want to leave gracefully. I don't want to leave like with being like, oh, I hate you guys. I'm not doing it. And I'm still working. I'm still doing everything that I need to be doing. And I didn't want to leave like by burning bridges. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do this in person because God forbid I do this over email and it isn't well received and whatever. And so I did it in person and I had to do it on a Tuesday, which stunk, but
it's part of the game.
part of the game. So after you put your 2 weeks in, did you start that following Monday or did you take more time off?
No. So I was supposed to end on a Tuesday and I was supposed to have Wednesday through Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to start then the next Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I was sitting there and I was like, I needed a mental break. I hadn't taken really a break. Like throughout all of college, I worked my summers and winters.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 40 hours a week as my internship, and it was like nonstop. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
started working internships since my junior year of high school summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I didn't take time off after school. I went straight to working at the company I'd interned at. I took 2 weeks and then I started my next job. And I was just like, if I'm going to start a new job, I need more than 5 days. I just mentally,
Yeah.
like, I am destroyed. I just need to relax. So I pushed it back another week. So I ended up having like a week and 5 days, which is pretty good.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. It kind of ended up being unfortunate because when I came in the next Monday, I found out that since my team, again, was in London, they had all flown out the week before. They were supposed to be out there just by coincidence. So like my managers, like our team is like 20-ish people and only 3 of us are in Boston.
Wow.
And all of them were there. And when I came in the next Monday, my manager's like, oh, like, welcome. Like he was messaging me, he was talking to me. He's like, yeah, welcome in, man. Like it was so unfortunate. I thought you were supposed to start last week. We were excited to meet you. I was like, he was like, yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know why you got pushed back. I was like, oh, that was me. I asked for that.
Wait,
was
that's
like,
so sick though that they came here. So do you ever get to go there? I mean, there's less
Yeah.
of you.
I do. So
Wow.
the guy who I work, so the two people I work with closest, the ones on my team. So the girl went out 2 months ago, went out for a week or two. She's supposed to go for 2 weeks, but it was like it ended up only working out for a week. A guy I work with literally came back Saturday. He was out there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
We're getting a brand new office in downtown London in September, October. I was supposed to get sent out with him I was supposed to get sent out like a month ago, but things
Mhm.
it didn't work out. Some projects moved around.
Mhm.
I'll get sent out in like probably a month, 2 months. It was
That's
like a budgeting
crazy.
thing. So I genuinely, I don't know the history that well. I'm only on month 4. So
No, apparently
speaking
only
of, tomorrow's my 4-month anniversary.
that's crazy. Congrats. I feel like you've been in this role for like, I don't know. Because I came down to celebrate when you got your new role. And for
Yeah,
whatever
that was
reason,
wild.
that feels like forever ago.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I've learned a lot. It's a lot has gone on since I've been there. Like,
Yeah.
it's very like it's so fast paced, so the opposite of what my other company was, which is
Yeah.
exactly what I was looking for. And like you just get thrown in. Like
That's awesome.
there was a day like you get thrown in. I just have like sometimes just have executives appearing at my desk, just being like, "Hey, I need this thing," and I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Hey.
well, one sec, like let me go get it." But yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
that's insane.
Yeah, it's very quick. Like you hop in and you're running. And if you're like you're gonna run, you figure it out.
Hmm.
Like, but I mean, obviously there's so many people around you, everyone's trying to help. Like it's super everyone's helping each other, it's not like you're
Yeah.
completely thrown to the wolves, but definitely a running start.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I'm nervous for what it's going to be like when I first start. So my company that I currently work at, like I'm one of probably, no, I am one of four like 20-year-olds at the company that I currently work at. And
That's
then,
yeah, see that's the benefit I have. Everyone's young.
yeah, so the company I'm moving to, it's like everyone is super young and everyone's super excited and it's a startup and
Oh, you're gonna
everyone's
love it.
I am so excited. Like I thrive in that environment. And
So do you know how I describe it? Do you know what it is? It's a college project where everyone does their part.
yes.
It's
Yes.
crazy. Everyone's doing their part. Everyone's smart. Everyone's like awesome, and you're just like,
I
oh,
love
word!
that.
I just get to like do this all day. Like,
I love that analogy. It's a college project that everyone contributes on. Yeah. Because I
yeah,
mean, that's what they like during my interview. I was like, oh, what's it like in such a young office? And one of the girls that was kind of like, she has her own kids that are my age. So she's obviously older than us. And she goes, yeah, it's from what you read online about like how Gen Zers are supposed to work, it's really the opposite of that. Like these kids motivate me to do so much, and this is such a hardworking office, and I've never experienced anything like this. Like I am genuinely so excited, and
mhm,
it's going to be such a different start to how I started my first job because I was one of the few young people starting, and it wasn't a fast growing company. So just going through that like juxtaposition of the two is going to be very, very interesting.
yeah. It's really fun. Like when go because the last company I was just like you. Like I was one of four guys under 26,
Yeah.
27, and like the guy who was 27, the two guys I knew that were 27, one was married, one had two kids, or
Mm,
one was just proposed and one had two kids. Like,
mm,
like they're in a different life than I'm in,
yeah.
and the kids here, like, oh, they're like they just went all together, just watched Thor, and like
Yeah.
they're trying to go to a bar, they're trying to go to like an escape room, they're trying to do this, trying to like
Yep.
they're trying to hang out with me while also being super intelligent, super
Yep.
motivated, and working on the same project as me. And like it's super cool. It's
And it's super nice because I know you grew up in Massachusetts, but like you don't know a ton of people in Boston. And like
yeah, like
it,
a handful. I'm not
yeah.
reaching
And
out to them. Like,
exactly, exactly. And so it's just nice to be able to have people in the area that you click with and that are intelligent and that share like similar values as you. Like it's kind of I don't want to compare it to like rushing a fraternity or sorority because it's simply it doesn't equate. But it's like you're looking for people that have the same values as you. You're looking for people that have the same interests as you. And what better way to do that than finding an employer that you all chose to work for because you wanted to.
right. No, literally, like a lot of these kids are like they were co-opt or intern there and they came back. And
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, you know why? Because they wanted to be here because they had fun. Like
Yeah.
you're shooting the shit while doing your job. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
every conversation I'm having, as serious as it can be, there's always laughs,
Yeah.
like there's some joke that's made because like everyone understands, like, oh, like, that sucks. Like it is what it is. But when you're
Yep.
sitting there and you're talking to like your 59-year-old boss who's like balding, sitting in a corner, doesn't want to do anything, has been in the same job for like 40 years, and like,
Hmm.
and you walk up to me like, oh, this isn't working, and he's like, and just goes back to it. It's a
Yep.
very different vibe than coming up to your
Yep.
buddy Zach and being like, yo, just broke it. And he's like, shit, we gotta fix it now. Like,
Yeah.
like
I know. And I haven't experienced that change yet, but I can only imagine like I'm coming from the plumbing industry where have you seen any revolutionary plumbing devices come in plumbing within your 22 years of existence? Because I
toilets
sure
are
haven't.
cool.
Toilets are cool. Like they
And
are
I'm
super
23
cool.
now. I'm 23 now.
23.
You
So
were there
how,
for it. So
I mean, I was there for it.
yeah, yeah.
And I sang you happy birthday right at midnight.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And then I probably fell asleep.
It's okay. I don't
It
blame you.
happens to the best of us.
It was a long day.
Um, I always am like, Leon's a year younger than me, and I'm 23. But
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, but
literally
you turned
23.
24 like October?
Yeah, which is
Okay.
coming up. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
old. But anyway, so like
No.
I haven't gotten to that point where it's like I get to experience, like when you go and tell your, like, I don't know, like going back to that comparison that you made of working with your like college classmates on a project, like it was so, I won't say fun because it was very stressful and like anxiety ridden, but like comparatively to the professional life, it was fun to go back to your teammates and be like, guys, we completely messed up this calculation. Like, we need to go and grind all night in the engineering lab and figure out like what part of the code we messed up, what part of the calculation we messed up. Like, that was fun because like everyone was there just like making small talk while you were working through it. And like, obviously, we're all intelligent individuals because we like worked hard, got our degrees in engineering. And it was just fun. It was fun to do that with those people because it was a team environment. And I think that's ultimately what I'm looking for, is that it's just a team. Like no one thinks that they're better than anybody else. Like everyone just wants to work hard and everyone wants to be a team player. And like ultimately at the end of the day, like what better way to be a team player than to just resonate with people and be
and
like
if you're not doing your job, then like no one wants you here.
Exactly.
So like there's no option. Like everyone's doing their job.
Yeah. It's like being that kid that doesn't do anything on the class project. Like you're just going to get stuck with other kids that don't do anything on their class.
And it doesn't work like that here. It just does. It's the real world. It just doesn't work like that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's cool. I can say that I do enjoy like being in the office because like at the end of the day, like, yeah, I have to bring bad news to kids all the time and they have to bring bad news to me all the time. Yeah, it's not great. But at the same time, like when you come over and you're like, hey man, and you start laughing, you're like, all right, what, you know, like it's just a completely different perspective on it than like everyone thinking it's the end of the world.
Yeah. We're just like not caring, like, oh, classic, that's what would happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like that was just
I will say like my interviews, I had three half-hour interviews and that was it. And none of them were technical. I think one of them was like mildly technical. And it was because Shark Ninja is so culturally based in the sense of like if you don't fit the culture of Shark Ninja, it's really hard because it's a super, you have to talk to everyone. Because a lot of your work is literally like you do something and you have to go talk to someone about it. And then decisions are made instantly. Like every day I walk in, I have meetings from 9 to noon and everything I thought I was going to do went out the window and there's a whole new set of things and you just always have to be talking. And that's something they value a lot. It's just like they care more that you fit into the culture because you'll figure out the rest.
Right, exactly. And that's what I interviewed McLean on professionalism and like talking about your resume and your cover letter and like how to essentially like boost what you are good at on your resume and like put like quantifying values to it. And he was ultimately just like, yeah, you can say essentially whatever you want on your resume. Just be comfortable enough to show up on the first day and perform. And so I feel like that's the same mindset that a lot of interviewers have. And they're like, okay, if this person's applying to this job, they obviously think that they're qualified enough for it. And based on like their education and their prior experience, they should be that qualified for it. And there's only one way to find out if they actually are. And it's to have them show up on the first day.
Literally,
and then,
go ahead.
Like the ultimate decider is like, do I want to spend 9 hours a day with this kid? Do I want to spend my entire week with this individual? Like ultimately that's what I think a lot of employers have been like turning to recently, because everyone nowadays has a college degree. Everyone, and like especially with engineering, everyone has the same sort of like experiences. Like you need to have a personality.
One of the managers during my interview, like I think I had like a director and 2 VPs interview me. And one of the VPs literally was like, so like, what do you do on the weekends? I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, like I see on your resume, all this engineering stuff, but like, what do you do on the weekends? I was like, I don't know. Like I snowboard, I play tennis, I do this, I do that. And he goes, right. Like put that on your resume next time. I was like, why?
No, at the bottom of my resume, I have a interest section and it was like, I have run 3 marathons. I host at Lincoln Tavern. I am a part of Girls on the Run, like just random interests.
No, literally. I have like a little bit, like a little, like, you know, I have some tennis stuff just because like whatever, leadership positions, but like I always figured that like I'd rather get into the door with my technical side because that's what I'm applying for, and then like talk my way into like the social side.
Yeah.
But like the guy literally looked at me, he was like, dude, like put some stuff down because like because he was like, I don't know who you are as a human. Cool, you did engineering. So did every other guy. Like,
Yep.
who are you? Why do I want to talk to you? Why do I want to hang out with you?
Yep.
Because yeah, in this specific office, like I'm talking to people constantly. I constantly having to be like interacting with people. And if you're just not someone that people want to talk to, then like,
nope, they're not
No.
going to want to work with you, and no work
No.
is going to get done.
no. And that is it. That's it. That's the line, right? If work doesn't get done, it's bad. So
Yep. Well, I really appreciate your time
of course,
and
thanks for
all of
having
your
me.
insight.